Hey, everybody. Is there a way to avoid pain without causing suffering? Welcome to another installment of A Year of Thinking Magically, a short daily video series that we're doing to help inspire each one of us to begin living our best lives. We invite you to join us on a thoughtful journey toward reclaiming our personal power and creating a more magical, more fulfilling, and healthier experience of life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And of course, we thank you in advance for liking and subscribing and sharing our videos with those you think will vibe with us. I'm your host, John Michael Salvato, and we'll be back right after this. And welcome back from our new home here in Middletown, Pennsylvania. It is cold today, and obviously it is noisy outside, just as as we begin. I don't know what's going on out there, but yesterday we talked a little bit about listening more and talking less as sort of a framework that would allow us to cultivate greater compassion, understanding, and common ground. And so today's mind shift, which I was originally going to share with you guys yesterday, is focused on the same topic. Hey, Kevin, nice to see you. And it's focused on pain. Now, none of us likes to experience pain. None of us, most of us would do anything we could to try to avoid pain. And this morning, I had an experience that really kind of let me see that this was just meant to kind of fall into the place that it fell into. Like I said, we were going to talk about this yesterday. And then something came up yesterday, excuse me, that led me to kind of preface today's mind shift. And so this morning I was talking to a member of our trans youth support group, and a young woman was speaking who's struggling with her first year of college being virtual in the midst of the pandemic. And she gave me permission to share her story. And she started sharing today during the group with a bit of a rant about how her father attacked her at breakfast over being bisexual and polyamorous. And in her father's eyes, that just meant, according to her, her father said that just meant she was a whore. And, she was deeply hurt and she was angry. And, my initial advice was to remember that we shouldn't take relationship advice from people whose own neuroses and mental health issues have prevented them from ever having a successful or healthy or lasting relationship. But I felt like we needed to talk about something a bit more broad, something a bit more, a bit wider in scope. You see, I realized that at the heart of this argument was pain, and not just her pain, but the pain of her dad, who was remarkably supportive of her during her transition. But her dad suffered a painful divorce, a really messy divorce, when she was about, I think, 8 or 10 years old. And he briefly dated a woman with whom I've worked for about 20 years, which is how I got to know them. And that woman, like me, is wired for polyamory. And so in her dad's broken state, with all of the mental health challenges that he suffers from, he just couldn't get his head wrapped around what it's like to love without possessiveness or without jealousy, to love without limits or fears. And so her dad really wasn't attacking her this morning, I don't believe. He was trying to avoid dealing with the pain in his own life. And then in his mind, he justified that as trying to prevent her, somebody he loves, from experiencing pain in her own life. So this was about one of those situations where somebody's really living in the past. They're not allowing themselves just to be informed by their past, but they're just staying stuck in that place. And that is the recipe for suffering. In fact, it's the primary reason for the suffering that we see most in this world. Pain is organic. We can't do anything about that. Pain is a natural part of life. It's a healthy part of life. It's a good part of life. But suffering comes when we try to avoid pain rather than maturely deal with it and resolve it. And in this case, my young friend was creating her own suffering as well, because she didn't want to have to deal with her dad's and her pain of having her mom leave them for another woman 10 or 11 years ago. And the only way to resolve pain is to move through it. So we talked about that a little bit today. You know, excruciating physical pain is part of my daily experience for the past few years. The pain of having financially suffered the loss of my income and almost lost everything that we own twice is something I have to face every day. The loss of more than 108 of my closest friends and 4 spouses over the past 30 years is pain that'll always be with me, but I don't suffer. And it's simple to understand why. I don't suffer because I understand that pain is nothing more than a form of physical or mental communication between my body and my mind. It's an indicator that something is off, something is out of balance. And it's the opportunity to make new choices, to find new solutions, and to start over. This morning would have been the 74th birthday, I think 74th or 75th birthday, of a beautiful, beautiful soul who was both one of my most cherished spiritual mentors in my younger years, as well as the first person with whom I was physically intimate about 4 decades ago. Seems like 400 decades ago. And it's painful to remember the circumstances of his passing. It's painful to remember how he had to sneak around for a couple of years because I was relatively young at the time and people wouldn't understand. But rather than try to avoid the pain, I chose last night during the beautiful wolf moon to sit with that pain, to allow that pain to open a doorway so that I could reconnect with the beloved traveler, so that I could say thank you. And I hope you can be proud of the man and the teacher that I've become. And so today, our mind shift is to be more aware of the places in which we might experience pain, to allow ourselves to notice, even if only for a few minutes, to just sit with that pain and allow it to inform and guide us so that we can eventually find opportunities for real healing within those experiences. And so that's my hope for you today is that when pain arises, whether it's just the pain of inconvenience or physical pain or emotional pain, that we allow ourselves just to sit with it for a few minutes and allow it to speak to us so that the real opportunities for healing can begin to present themselves. And as we say at the end of every one of these broadcasts, I do hope that you'll stay in the moment, because that is where your power lies. To be grateful, fill that moment with gratitude, because there's no reason to expect that you're going to be any happier with more if you can't be grateful for what you've got right now. And to always remember that the best is yet to come. I look forward to talking with you guys soon. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll be back here tomorrow with more.